Okay, we're back to talk about Hijack Season 2, Episode 4, titled Switch on Apple TV. This episode written by Thomas Eccleshare and directed by Sean James Grant. As Sam and Otto try to figure out who caused Freddy's death last episode, Sam learns there's an asthmatic baby on the train who is very sick. After finding a woman named Jess, who is a doctor, to try and help the baby, he works out a deal to stop the train and get the baby off if the authorities will bring John Bailey Brown to him. May suspects that a man with a bloody hand might have had something to do with Freddy's murder, but it's revealed that he just panicked earlier and hid a bag of drugs on the train, but he wasn't involved in Freddy's death. In London, Daniel calls up Zara to help him learn more about what Sam is doing and investigate the cheap side firm even more. Meanwhile, Marcia learns that the man she confronted in the last episode was sent to protect her by Daniel, but the agent is seemingly killed by the neighbors who have been wandering around Marcia's home, setting up the fact that they may be involved in the hijacking conspiracy. As Sam prepares to get the baby off the train, he puts a flash drive inside the baby's bottle as a way to get information to authorities without alerting those who are behind the hijacking. During the exchange, he also notices a tear in Jess's jacket that matches a piece of metal in the conductor's booth where the murder occurred, so Sam and Otto can now deduce that Jess is the hijacker who is working on board the train. We are now halfway through. We got a little bit of expansion of the world of who might be behind this hijacking and what is going on. Interestingly, this was the first episode that was not directed or written by sort of the same cohort of people. I sort of found
Okay.
myself liking this one a little bit more maybe than the last couple that we've seen. So curious your impressions on how we sort of expanded things and moved things forward in this episode.
Yeah, I mean it was entertaining. Uh, one thought that occurs to me was that maybe I should stop trying to predict things because I've done so too well or something, right? Like I recall last week we were like, oh, but maybe this threatening guy is actually someone Daniel sent to protect her. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they're doing here. Um, but okay. I don't know how much things move forward. It's interesting that this woman, Jess, who is maybe kind of sort of a doctor, does seem to be the one who killed Freddie, I guess.
Yeah.
So how involved is she? Or, I guess what I mean is she being threatened and coerced into doing what she's doing? Or is she, yeah, not that way, I guess, right?
Yeah.
A true cheapside firm loyalist or whatever, however you might put that.
That
Um,
that's one thing that I think is worth talking about as we came out of the first season, because the people on the plane, we learned that some of them were, well, many of them were involved in the hijacking, but they were in one way or another being coerced, being forced. Their hands were tied. They were doing it to try to protect someone or save something else. So yeah, as you said, how many of these people, Jess or others, are doing this because it's something that they're trying to accomplish versus they're also being coerced, just like Sam.
yeah, and there is, well, now you have me thinking back to season one, and at a certain level, there's a way in which no one has a real choice,
Right.
but there's still a difference that we're pointing to, right? Some of the hijackers in season one, or whatever the woman's name was who ended up flying the plane at the end,
Yeah.
that was a matter of like, hey, we're going to kill your daughter unless you do what we say, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the main guys, um, the main hijackers from the beginning, seem to be more acting of their own free will. But we did learn over the course of season one, they couldn't quit. They didn't have an out, like
That's right. That's
they're
right.
part of the cheap side firm. They had to do what they're told. So it's a little different, but yeah, that's what I find myself wondering. Which way is it for this Jess character we've been introduced to? Um,
And that is what leads me, I think, to a question we have here, which is what do we think that there was a clear financial incentive that we learn about in the airplane hijacking? What is the purpose of this hijacking as we understand it here halfway through the season? Is it just to get John Bailey Brown released? Are there other motivations that we're aware of? I don't know that we have all of that information yet.
Yeah, we don't really have much. Certainly we haven't been hit with something like this as a scheme to short stocks or whatever, and probably they're not going to play that kind of card again, I don't
Right.
think. There's a big question though about what exactly is going on with Sean Bailey Brown also. We talked about this before. The guy Faber, um, has said that they're planning to extradite him to the UK and so on,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I don't buy it quite. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on there, but I feel like the show is seeding a question there and has been, if the plan was to simply extradite John Bailey Brown back to the UK, why didn't they do that already? Why have they been holding him in this house and so on, right?
Right. Right.
So in this episode, they the German authorities have decided that they're at least going to kind of pretend to bring John Bailey Brown to the train.
Yeah.
You know, I guess they don't fully intend to actually do so. We'll see how that goes. But Faber's like, oh hell no, like he's making phone calls. He tries to get to the safe house first to grab John Bailey Brown and take him to a plane and
Yeah.
so on, right? Why? Again, I feel like if it were simply a matter of extraditing him to the UK, they could have done that already. So something more has to be at play there. And then I guess I'm thinking that probably relates to the hijacking in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it has to, particularly because yes, there's sort of these competing forces there. I agree with you. Faber, there's something behind his intentions that seem uh quite underhanded, and we don't necessarily know what that is yet, but he's sort of been put in his place and had his credentials revoked, it seems. And John Bailey Brown has been taken from that safe house and is now being driven somewhere, we presume, near where a potential drop may happen, or a chance where it can meet up, where he can meet up with the train. But yeah, I mean, just seems like that there would be better ways where you could just acquire him than stage a whole other hijacking. So there's got to be something else.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are bothering me in this season, and um, they might go in the direction of twists that work, where maybe we have to suspend disbelief a little bit, but it works. Or my worry is that there's going to be a level where it doesn't really strike me as plausible, but we're just asked to accept it.
Yeah,
And part of it relates to this, which is pretty central. The best I've got in feel like theorizing or speculating about what's going on is something like this, that John Bailey Brown was captured by the authorities and um, has agreed to rat other people out. I don't know if that's super plausible based on what we know about him from
yeah,
season one. He was like, he already went to prison once, like he probably got that offer before. But the best I've got as a guess is that something like that's what's going on. Um, and then that the hijack is being staged by other powerful people in the Cheapside firm who want to keep him
yeah,
from doing that.
yeah.
But then it's still a weird plan because it's not going to work. I mean, like if the plan really was to get the authorities to bring John Bailey Brown to the train
hmm
so that you could kill him or something, this is a really convoluted plan,
Yeah, it's
and
like,
it's also very unlikely to actually work that way,
yeah, he's
right?
like being watched by three guys in a house. Just go, just go take them all out. I mean, that just seems like the most efficient way to do it.
Right? And blow up the house or something, right? Like if maybe you could guess they don't know where he is, but at the same time, there have been some indications that maybe the hijacker I mean, the one sending Sam the text messages in the previous episode, um, is in that house, right? Because it's either that or they hacked that phone number in order to make it seem like they'd send a text message from that phone number, right? If we recall that detail. So either it's that or, more straightforwardly, someone in that house is involved. But if someone in that house is involved, that means that they do know where he is and
Exactly. So,
potentially
yeah.
could just put a bullet in his head if that's what they wanted to do. So is it something, I mean, is it again another instance of trying to free him? I guess maybe. Why is he in Germany in the first place? There are a lot of questions here. And so hopefully, as we get more information, it all hangs together well.
Yeah. And I hope that the answers to those questions end up being a certain level of interesting and intriguing that it's worth the payoff of, this time spent doing this thing to figure out what it is that they're actually trying to accomplish. If it just becomes they're just trying to take possession of him, yeah, it'll feel like a little bit of a letdown to, stage this whole elaborate thing just so we can have Sam Nelson on another hijacking of sorts.
Yeah, and I'd like a little bit more background information too about what happened to Sam's son, Kai.
Hmm.
Um, I found myself thinking this episode, and maybe last week too, although I didn't mention it, I'm not the biggest fan of them killing off his son.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how to put that otherwise. It's just we need to do that, and so if you are doing that, well, I feel like we need a little bit more of an explanation of why
Yeah,
they would have, why would John Bailey Brown have killed Kai a year ago, and that's it, Whereas in season one, the way that we saw these cheapside firm people operating was sending a couple of fake cleaning guys to your house and slaughtering their whole family, you
yeah.
know, leaving their limbs in the bathtub and stuff, right? So like, why would they have stopped at killing Kai in what could be interpreted as a car accident, as opposed to saying we're going to kill this whole family or whatever?
Yeah, I'm thinking about well, my wife and I have been watching the show on Netflix, The Beast Within Me, the Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys show. We've finally
Hmm.
finished that, and very, very interesting, and sort of the same sort of mystery, or trying to cover things, trying to understand the motivations of different people. And one of the very important near the end episodes is entirely spent in flashback, just explaining certain things and why certain pieces were, where people, why people are in certain places, what happened before, what are the sort of the connective tissues of a lot of these things. I'm not usually a fan of doing it that way. You kind of takes you out of this, especially when it's a huge cliffhanger in the episode before, and it forces you to wait through, this whole
Yeah.
exposition. That's where I fear that we're headed a little bit with this, especially with four, full episodes left to go. They're gonna have to do this at some point, quite a significant information dump. What happened to the son? Why did it happen? What's Sam been doing for 2 years? What's his motivation on doing this? A lot of that still is left to come.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of structure where it's like the penultimate episode, the flashback episode, because also because it often gives you more information than you need
Yeah.
because they feel the need to like pad out a full episode.
Yep.
We'll see if we get that here. I guess I would prefer or would have preferred if maybe they just gave us some of this information in a more straightforward way.
Yeah.
Um, but they didn't. Okay, this is what the show is. And I guess also season one was similar in certain ways where there were a lot of questions um, that, you could call them mysteries, but they weren't even quite mysteries. They were just kind of like withheld information, you
Yeah.
know? Um, because when I think of a mystery, I feel like there's more intrigue there, or your imagination can get going about the possibilities or something like this, as
Yes.
opposed to just not having any information, like,
Yeah.
So Sam's son died a year ago in a car accident. That's all we know. He
That's
thinks
right.
Cheapside did it. That's all we know. We don't know what happened. What is it about this car accident that um, makes it plausibly interpreted as a murder? We've got nothing else to work with, but
Yeah.
we'll probably get it at some point down the line.
So Sam seems to be a couple different ways in this episode. We learned he's sort of dropping breadcrumbs of what's happening here. He sneaks out the USB in the bottle, which I believe we know it contains footage of what's happened inside the conductor's booth there, sort of see what actually
Yeah,
happened. And then we have the detective who's sort of exploring the original station where Sam got on the train. And this guy finds in the vending machine, looks like a coaster, maybe from a pub or something. And we don't see what's on
yeah.
that. But he's been, it's another one of these things that Sam has dropped along the way. Do we have any sense of what that was that he found? Is he just trying to give information to the authorities to prove to them that he's not involved in this, that he's being coerced? That's sort of my best hypothesis of what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's trying to leave a little clue along those lines.
Yeah.
And we probably have to wait for that detective to follow up on it to make more sense of it. Um, we do have enough to make more sense of the fact that in the first episode he bought like a can of soda and just threw it away,
Yeah.
which was something that had kind of stuck in my mind. Like, what'd you do that for?
Yeah.
Yeah, um,
While looking
that is
directly into
weird.
the camera to sort of see me and see me doing this.
Uh-huh. So now it's clear at least that the reason he did that was so that he could leave this coaster as a clue in the vending machine, I guess,
Right.
right? Because of course, when they look at that security footage and they see him buy a can of soda, stare into the camera, and then throw it in the trash can, they're like, "Well, what's that about? We should go check out that vending machine." Okay,
Yeah.
where does that clue lead? I'm curious. I'm definitely curious, but I don't know that we have enough to speculate on other than what, like it's a bar owned by the Cheapside firm or something like this,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
Um, well, the other thing, the USB drive, yeah. There's a camera in the cab, and we've been told that it only records what's going on
Right.
in the train car there, and records it to the hard drive. He wants to look at what's on that USB, but he can't because it's encrypted, Otto says. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess that'll probably work. Sneaking that in the baby bottle, you know?
Yeah. I
Gotta,
mean, as long as that mom doesn't throw it away, yeah, she should work fine.
yeah, I mean, you're relying on the baby's mother seeing the USB drive and going, "Hey, what's this?" and handing it over to the authorities.
Exactly.
But like, probably she will, I guess. Um, Along these lines, I don't know if this was just me, but why didn't he just let the father go with the baby? Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I didn't understand this either. I mean, at first I thought, well, oh, well, a baby can't articulate or relay the information of what they've seen or heard or whatever, but they clearly know who they're talking to. They know what's going on. It's not like the father is going to be able to divulge anything that they're unaware of to the authorities at this point. So, yeah, why not just let him go other than just trying to continue up the farce that he's some kind of overbearing terrorist that's hijacked this train? I don't know have any other explanation for it.
Yeah, because you're going to a lot more trouble to get the baby's mother to arrange a location where you can meet up with her and so on, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So
It
I
was a
thought
question for me.
when they
Go ahead.
arranged that, I thought that they were setting up a swap. Like you bring John Bailey Brown to this place. Once I see him get on the train, I will give you the baby. But that's not exactly what happens here. I mean, it's not at all what happens because he's not at John Bailey Brown is not at that location. It seems like.
Yeah, no. Instead, Sam's saying what he was saying was that they needed to give him the location where they would bring John Bailey Brown,
Right,
and
right.
then he would arrange to give the sick baby off the train. But I think when it comes down to it, what it is well, one, Sam actually is like an empathetic human being who wants to get the sick baby off the train.
Yeah,
But more strategically, it's about that USB drive
yeah,
and viewing
exactly.
this as an opportunity to get that USB drive to the authorities by putting it in the baby bottle and so on. Another thing that's weird about this, though, is Jess, right? So he has her carry the baby out into the tunnel,
Hmm.
right? Um, we are, how to put this? It's at least strongly indicated by the end of the episode that Jess is working with the hijackers and killed Freddy.
Yes, yes.
But that's a secret, right? Um, if she wasn't, why would she return to the train? What would Sam, and they don't even really talk about this, but
Yeah.
how could Sam make her return to the train? They don't even hit on this at all. Is that
Yeah, they're
question
just like
making
you
sense here?
you
Any
go
thoughts
take
on
the
this?
baby. Yeah. This is and I guess also my question was, and unless she is this is part of her plan, if you're involved in this and want to stay undercover, as it were, why aren't you just completely laying low for as long as you possibly can? At the risk of being discovered, were you told to act like a doctor? Are you actually a doctor? She doesn't actually give any sort of helpful, any medical advice, or certainly can't treat the baby. So we don't really know. So why is she playing this role if it risks blowing her cover, as it were?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't recall exactly how that came up. I don't think she is a doctor. I think she's in med school or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I don't really quite, I don't fully recall how that information came out. I'm guessing it's probably true,
yeah,
and it does kind of lead me in the direction of thinking that probably she is more being coerced or forced to do what she's doing.
yeah,
I just think it's weird that, you know, putting aside what we know about her and the strong indications that she really is working for the bad guys, even if that is under coercion, that if you were just a normal passenger and you were given this opportunity, Sam says, no, it's going to be you who takes the baby out there. Um, wouldn't you like hand the baby to its mother and then say, okay, now let's run. Let's run
yeah.
away. I'm
Sprint,
going to
sprint.
run
Let's.
away. I'm going to run away from the goddamn hijack train.
Yeah, he's not
I'm
going to
not just going to go
leave.
back.
He's not going to leave the 200 people there and go chase after you. I think that's a pretty astute observation there that this is a tell in addition to what they saw on her that she has to be on that train for some reason. Or, she's feeling, I don't know, she's feeling like if she tries that, he'll kill other people. But I think this just has to be that she is involved as they suspect.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was odd that they didn't even really address that. We
Yeah.
could have. It's just like she goes back to the train because, of course, she goes back to the train.
Yes.
And we know that she has to go back to the train because she's working with the bad guys. But
Yes.
again, yeah, without that, I don't know. I feel like there should have been something in there at some point where Sam was like, and you have to come back to the train or I'm going to kill that baby's father, something,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And it's just not there. It's just like she comes back because of course she comes back, instead of going with the woman and her baby. Anyhow, it's probably a pretty minor complaint. I had suspicions in this episode of another character on the train. I wonder what you think about this. We talked about May before. We should probably hit on what you think with regard to May at this point. I think it was last week you expressed maybe some suspicions of her, like maybe it was her. I think in this episode, the indications are no. She's just kind of like a nosy tryhard. But at one point, this older German woman talks to her and advises her to like keep her head down. Thoughts about her, the older woman?
Yeah,
Because part of me was starting to
my
feel
first thought
like,
on my first thought on her was, oh, you're the one who's involved in the hijacking. Sit down and shut
yeah,
up.
right. Like, yeah, you're a hijacker, right? Tell her to shut up, you know? Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. I guess it could
Yeah,
be a red herring. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised if there is at least one more person on that train. And as you were gesturing at earlier, I almost expect there to be a little bit more to it in terms of why they hijacked the train than we know yet.
yeah,
So
yeah. We really don't
hopefully,
have
we're
a firm answer other than get Bailey Brown on here. We really don't have any more information than that.
right. Yeah. So it's been a little bit wonky, I think, overall, right? We talked about before, it kind of seemed like at first Sam thought that he was going to be done once he got a picture of John Bailey Brown somehow.
Right.
Um, what they're withholding to the one woman at the embassy, Olivia, right? The one he was supposed to meet, she seems to be pulling on this thread a little bit. Why did he set up that meeting and all of that only to skip the meeting and instead hijack a train? And the timing of that is also a little bit, I don't know, there's a question there or something
Yeah,
worth
just
thinking about.
all these things he's putting in place or putting together or leaving as clues as to, you know, A, I'm not actually doing this, or I don't want to be doing this, and B, here's the trail of things that I've been following that you have not been able to uncover. Let me help you do it with what I've discovered.
Yeah. So I'm sure it'll all come together here in the back half of the season, hopefully in a satisfying way. Anything else you want to say about this episode before we wrap up?
I think that's it for today.
All right, sounds good. Thanks as always for listening to the podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If so, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. Want to follow TV Obsessive on social media? If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us. And as always, check out the website, tvobsessive.com, where you can find written work on TV, past and present, future, and so on. And as for the podcast, we'll be back with you next week.
All right, looking forward to it. We'll see you next time.